This is going to sound like so much hate, and I swear it's not.
Intro it because you'll have a better gist of how to intro it, obviously with how it started and everything.
Sure. So do we want to, right now, so from my view, I don't know about everyone else's, but my view, it looks like Keenan on the top left, Branndon right, myself, then Tim. Do you want to do that? Want to go just clockwise with these takes?
Are you
Start
bottom
with
left
Branndon.
or bottom right? I'm
Start
bottom
left.
right. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, start with Branndon, then Timmy, then you, Kyle, then me.
Gotcha.
Okay. But if, yeah,
I want to
for my
start
view,
with
that's
Branndon
easy.
because he is the reason why we're here and doing this. So I want to start with him.
So
That
how we'll
makes
do
sense.
this? How we'll do this? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was telling Tim, I only have 2 written down. Everything else I'm going to freestyle. So, I mean, obviously we're not trying to be here for 2 hours necessarily, but I mean, if we are, we are. But, give your take, and then we'll give a brief explanation of why you think that way. Obviously, again, we're not taking it too seriously because, I mean, we still got a full off season here. But give your reason, obviously, as to why you feel that way as of the 3rd week of February. And then we'll go from there. We'll have light discussion. If we end up getting into a full-on debate, so be it. Let the pod be what the pod be.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And if you guys have any ideas of how to do this, you guys want, or you guys just trying to just go with the flow?
Go with the flow.
I'm good with going with the flow.
Sounds good to me. All right. I'll intro here in about 5 seconds.
You do you, man. You do you, brother.
Welcome back to the Warner Brothers podcast. I'm Kyle, joined by my brother Keenan. Brandon Petty's here. Tim Gray is here. And listen, it is only, I believe it's February 26th. Yes, Wednesday, February 26th. We're going to fire off some hot takes about the 2025 NFL season. Keenan, was that a cookout cup right there?
It was a Chick-fil-A cup.
Chick-fil-A. Good enough. I'm in support of that.
Powerade in it.
Chick-fil-A cookout. I'm in support of each. So shouts to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What we got? What's in the cup though?
Just some blue Powerade, nothing crazy.
All right. Yeah,
No, not like lean or anything.
Lean in the Chick-fil-A cup while doing an NFL hot take podcast. That would be a little. That would be a little insane. But I'm gonna let y'all know this.
Drink in my cup.
Yeah. Shouts to Kirk
Sorry.
O'Banks. Shouts to Kirk O'Banks.
Young Kirko.
Thanks.
But
down.
the reason why we're giving you a hot take podcast, quick story. If y'all watched, and if you didn't watch, go check it out. Me and Brandon had a NBA trade deadline review 2 weeks ago now. And after the podcast, Brandon and I were chopping it up. Start talking about the draft, start talking about the past NFL football season, maybe the upcoming NFL season. Brandon gives me a couple hot takes of what he thinks a certain player is going to go. Then he gives me a Super Bowl prediction extremely early. Then he tells me, hey, I got a take that's like 2 or 3 or 4 times hotter than the takes I just gave you. And I said, you know what? Hold up. We need to make a podcast about this. So we brought Tim. We got Keenan here. We're going to fire off takes because, I mean, hey, there's one thing sports fans have all year round. It's thoughts, it's beliefs, it's takes. Call this a take storm. I know people have called this a take purge, this exercise. Take storm, kind of like a brainstorm type of thing. Whatever we want to call it, though, you're going to get rapid fire clockwise, however y'all see this in your vid. I don't know what it looks like on YouTube right now, but whether it's clockwise, counterclockwise, we're going to be firing off these takes. And look, that's enough talk. I mean, there's not a lot of description to this. It's going to be takes. It's way too early. The season's not for another, 8 months, 10 months. So we're all right. We can just fire these off. So Brandon, without further ado, you're the genesis of this. So by all means, start us off with a take.
I'm so excited.
Okay, so I'll start with the first one.
I'm so excited.
If we're going to go, I was thinking just something that was like outrageous. And, with how it involves Baltimore, and it was, I was thinking with Zay Flowers being out, you looked at Baltimore's receiving corps, and they really didn't have too much of anything. They had Rashad Bateman, the ghost of Nelson Aguilar, and a couple of other, I guess, journeyman or kind of replacement level receivers. So I told Kyle, I said, hey, there's a big time guy that's, slated to be a free agent, or potentially on the trade market, whatever, if he doesn't get the tag. I told Kyle, I said, hey, in some crazy world, I could see T. Higgins ending up on Baltimore. And my reasoning for it was because, hey, Baltimore needs a true number one. I love Zay Flowers, but he's not your prototypical, like, number one, big ball guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, you know what? I said, I could see T. Higgins landing in Baltimore as long as it's not a trade scenario, because obviously Cincinnati wouldn't trade T. Higgins to Baltimore. I don't think that would ever happen. But if he got, if he hit the free agent market, I could see that happening. Then I proceeded to give Kyle two more names. One was Garrett Wilson, because of New York potentially blowing things up. There's also been a ton of reports about Garrett Wilson possibly requesting a trade, things sort of that nature. So I said, hey, maybe Garrett Wilson ends up in Baltimore. Then I had a third player. I don't remember who the third player was.
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, again, with the whole, he wants out of Miami thing, even though he came back and he kind of cleared that
track,
cleared the air a little bit.
Just be a track team.
So, I thought, I was like, if we're going to go bold, like, that would be a bold move for Baltimore to go out and get a bona fide superstar number one wide receiver. And I could honestly, I don't think it's too far fetched. I think, maybe some of those names you would think maybe a little far fetched, but, if let's say they did go out and get Tyreek Hill or Garrett Wilson, like with Derrick Henry, with maybe Mark Andrews if he's back next year, Isaiah Likely, like Zay Flowers is their number two, like that's pretty damn good. You give Lamar like his first true number one receiving option, unless I'm forgetting about somebody.
Nope, you're forgetting about no one. Zay Flowers has been his best receiver by far, but really his number one's been Mark Andrews for his career, essentially. Has been his number one.
So I was like, like out of those three guys, maybe if Garrett Wilson comes available, maybe they're through New York, a first round pick, and maybe a third or fourth rounder, and they bring Garrett Wilson in, they give him a bag, maybe Miami, maybe Tyreek does request a trade from Miami. That's probably a first and another, maybe a day two pick, a second or a third, or maybe you throw a player in there, That was my bold prediction. That was one of them, was that I think Baltimore just goes out and trades for a bona fide superstar wide receiver.
Timmy, what's your thoughts on it?
I agree that they definitely need help. I mean, I don't think Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers is what they're looking for. They definitely want somebody. They've taken shot after shot at first-round wide receiver, and Zay Flowers is the first one that has really kind of worked out. But then obviously he had the injury at the end of the season that cost him a few games there. But I could also see Devontae Adams signing here. Give him Devontae. That wouldn't be too bad. The problem with Devontae is I think he said he wants West Coast weather, so I think that kind of shuts that down. The Garrett Wilson thing, I saw a report saying that he's all good now that Aaron Rodgers and Devontae are gone, that he's just like no longer wants a trade, good to go. So I don't know if they're even willing to move him at this point, but getting Lamar another weapon won't hurt him in any scenario. So I could see it working out really well. And it actually goes well with one of my bold predictions later on. So,
Tim, hit us with one of your bold predictions right now.
Well, I'll hit you with that one, I guess, right now. I think next year there's a potential that the Baltimore Ravens complete an undefeated season, win 17 football games next year. It's going to be very
holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be very difficult to do playing in the AFC North, but this is a very talented team. Great coach. Lamar coming back for that MVP. It's going to go crazy.
Holy shit. Okay. What's up, Keenan?
All right, just want to make sure I was called on first. With this undefeated season, are they winning at all, or are they flaming out? Like,
I'll give you 17 regular season wins. I can't say that they'll win it all. Even Brady couldn't do it. So I'll give you 17
Okay.
regular season wins.
Yeah, even the GOAT couldn't do it by a landslide. You're right. Okay.
I gotta say, first of all, that's a scorching hot take. I don't know obviously don't know which one Brandon's talking about when he said, like, I got one that's crazy, whatever. I don't even know if we can top what Tim just did on the second take of the pod, because that's super crazy. I'll take it a step further and say this. I think a 17-0 regular season would almost be harder than had the Patriots gone 19-0, right? Because I think 16-0 is attainable, but 17-0 just seems insane. And a 20-0 season would just be fucking wild. That's like out of the like. I can't even imagine a team going 17-0 to put themselves in a position to be 20-0. Now, especially like if, let's put it with Brandon's, if they do go out and get a bona fide number one, yeah, that's going to be tough to beat. But you kind of alluded to it, Tim, in your opening statement. AFC North, 6-0 in any year against the AFC North, even if you've got a great team, even if the Ravens were far and away the best team in the AFC North, I would still be like, yeah, they're going to go maybe 5-1 against the whole division. I mean, hey, these are all like kind of half-baked hot takes. Like, we're not going to be married to them by the time we do our preseason predictions, in August or early September. But man, that one's crazy. That one's crazy. So what y'all think?
Brandon, you can go. I'll clean up.
I definitely 17-0 is definitely crazy. I mean, if you were to pick a handful of teams that had a chance to go 17-0, I would think like Baltimore definitely would have a chance. Like you said, though, with their division, like you're playing Cincinnati 2 times a year, you're playing Pittsburgh 2 times a year. You've got Cleveland, which nobody's really worried about Cleveland. Still, like that's extremely difficult. But like in a world, let's say if they do go out and trade for a bona fide number one, let's say they go get a top 10 receiver, top 8 receiver. Let's say they bring in a backup running back to spell Derrick Henry some, whether it's like Travion Henderson or somebody in the draft. Shore up the offensive line a little bit. Like, I think, like, there's a world where it could happen. I mean, it's extremely rare. We've seen it before with obviously New England, with obviously the Dolphins, way back in the 70s. Like, it's extremely tough, but, like, I think there's a world where, like, on paper, like, the Ravens could. Like, I think if they get a couple good breaks, like, and it really honestly comes down to one-score games. Like, if they win every one-score game they're in, like Minnesota did a couple of years ago, like, it's certainly possible. I would be shocked if it happened, though. Like, I would have to pick my jaw up off the floor. Like, if any team went 17-0, honestly, going back to what Kyle said, like, that's just like, I mean, you got to win 17 games in a row. Like, it's tough.
I'm not gonna lie to you. In the league right now, I could only see a Andy Reid led my Kansas City Chiefs team even attempting. I mean, they were 15-2 this year. They lost to the Bills close, and then obviously they just sat everybody in the last game against the Broncos. But like the Ravens, to me, I'd be dumbfounded if it happened, and it would be because of the fact that they have 3 games a year that are complete duds. They just think, like, I don't know what happened. Like, they lose 1 game a year to an inferior opponent that they shouldn't lose. Last year was the Raiders. They were just like, wait, why did they lose again? Like, they just have 3 games a year. It seems like they have duds, and if they could pull those ones out, then I mean, theoretically, sure. But pulling out 3 duds is really tough. I know it's definitely tough. Obviously, 17 games being buttoned up for at least 50 minutes, if not 60 minutes of the game. Obviously, like, you can play a not perfect game and win, of course. Like, we see it every single week. But if you're going that, especially when you get to the 12-0, 13-0, because then it starts coming like, oh, we could actually do this. We're rolling now. And then those other teams are like, we're going to stop the run. Like, we're not. And so Week 14 game against the Browns that's already tough going to Cleveland. They're now like, we can stop the undefeated. Okay, now we're ramped up even more. So like, yikes. Yeah, I mean, even the Patriots had close games during their 16-0, like towards the back half of their season, after they were running through teams. Towards the back half of their season, they had close games, and then their playoff run, they actually had some decently close games. So not their divisional, but I think their AFC Championship game against the Chargers was close. And then obviously they lost the Super Bowl, but that is hot. That is hot.
So
feeling hot.
before I go, I do want to. So the Chiefs, when they went 15-2 this year, and obviously they kind of threw away the last game. That's the highest winning season through 17 games that we've had so far, and I think it's been 4 seasons that we've had the 17 game schedule. Correct? Something like that. I do want to say, if the Ravens were to get a number one. If the Ravens, let's say they already have an above average defense, let's say they got, I don't want to say Myles Garrett, because if they're already spending capital on a wide receiver.
They would have to hit in the draft on something big, like a second round pick in the draft. They'd have to hit on a guy. I mean, they could do it. I mean, everyone does it every year. They hit on someone, but.
Sure. So let's say they got an impact guy on defense, whether it draft, free agent, but like, secondary guy that just makes an immediate impact, and they just round out the edges. Baltimore is a team that does look like, they could contend for that, undefeated season.
Just thinking about it, I'd actually probably have Philly.
Maybe so.
I just thought.
Maybe so.
I'm just thinking about it because they have a team where they can win ugly, and like because they can run the ball so well, and like linemen typically travel. Like obviously, like you can get to after someone, but like
sure, yeah, they can run.
That bruising travels. So even if you can't run, like throw, you can run, and then you can obviously throw. They have young assets on defense, especially ones that they're not even paying yet. So they are having an opportunity to where the Eagles within the next year or two, I mean, they started 10-1, and then obviously the wheels fell off 2 years ago. But they started 10-1, coming off a championship. Like Philly would be right. And now out of all of our teams, like how they're constructed right now, that if I had to actually bet next year, I'd actually be Philly. Would probably be my bet to go undefeated. I think they're in the prime position in their division. The Commanders are tough. Cowboys, depending on what Schottenheimer does, and then the Giants, it's wait and see. We have to see what they're doing in the free agency, see what they're doing in the draft. Do they get a quarterback? And then we'll see from there.
Sure. So what I was going to say was, having rooted for that 16-0, 18-1 Patriots team, and honestly, I swear to God when I say this, and I mean this, how blessed we were as Patriots fans, Keenan and I bet there was 3 or 4 other seasons in the 2010s where I didn't say this out loud, but I quietly thought to myself, man, we could run the table. Given the schedule, given our roster.
One of our first podcasts ever, Kyle, we said it. When we got Antonio Brown, we said we were running the table.
Oh, shit. Oh, man.
We literally, we got Antonio Brown in the first. We're in Dad's studio, and we were I specifically remember because we were sitting down and I was like, we're running the table. We're not being beat. We were already going to go 14-2 and we just got Antonio Brown. And Antonio Brown did show up like 5 days ago. He just came and he was like, okay, touchdown pass. Because Brady was like, yeah, I'm going to find him just because. I was like, we're not losing again. Sweet. Who could beat us?
For that 1 week, shit looked sweet. And then
who was beating us? Are you kidding me? We could have won whatever game we wanted to, and Brady knows how to deal with it. We would have gone undefeated. I don't care what anyone says.
The anatomy of a 16 game or 16 or in this case 17 win season, undefeated season, you would need an elite QB, you'd need an elite coach, which they got. You would need an overpowering offense, and you would need an above average defense. You would need like a playmaking above average defense, which is what the Pats team had in 07. They had playmakers literally everywhere you could imagine, on top of an amazing offensive line, on top of, arguably the GOAT coach.
Still the best Patriots team. I don't care they didn't win it all. It's still the best Patriots team. Either that or the 14 team. That 14 team was insane. When we had Revis and Talib.
Well, hey, I was gonna go mild with this next pick. Well, mild compared to Tim's, but you know what? I feel like I gotta match the heat. The Kansas City Chiefs are missing the playoffs next year, y'all. Listen, you got you got the Chargers.
Put him in that box.
You got the Chargers there. You got Harbaugh. You're right. You got Harbaugh and Herbert, right? And they already put pressure on people. Tim was going to go as far to say, had the Chargers made it to the divisional round over the Texans, he might have picked the Chargers over the Chiefs. Shit, we all just saw the Chiefs. Last we saw them, they were getting run off the field by the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay? Broncos are up and coming. They were in the playoffs. They were a 10-win team. I don't know if y'all saw this, but during Super Bowl week, Sean Payton, he was on with Kay Adams, and he said something like, we ain't fucking around. We're coming. Like, we're like, don't mess with us this offseason. Like, watch what we do. We're coming. You combine those two teams with the Chiefs, who are on the downward slope, and you combine that with the Raiders, who at least look like they got their shit together. You got Pete Carroll, who's just, that's a 7-win team. That's going to be a tough team to play. They might not be a playoff team, but they might be a tough team to play. That's 3 tough teams on top of a first-place schedule. Who knows? But, Travis Kelce, he's getting a little up there in age. He did not look great in the Super Bowl at all. Obviously, they'll be getting Rashee Rice back. But, hey, there's a world if this team got off to, let's say, 1-3. I'm sure all of us would sit up here next year if they got off to 1-3 and say, hey, it's the Chiefs, it's Andy Reid, it's Patrick Mahomes. Don't sleep on them. They can still make a run for a wild card spot. But with a Jim Harbaugh-led Chargers, with Herbert, with what we're assuming is going to be with more weapons this coming season, J.K. Dobbins, if he stays healthy, with a good, formidable defense, a physical team that's already matched up well with the Chiefs. Again, you combine that with an up-and-coming Raiders team who, again, is at least at the bare minimum is going to be well-coached. Who knows who they'll have at QB. And then you combine that with the Broncos, who were already a playoff team and already played the Chiefs well. Lost only on that that blocked field goal. They would have gave the Chiefs a loss earlier in the season if not for that block. And just, hey, 4 good coaches. Obviously, Andy Reid being the cream of the crop there, but Jim Harbaugh, possibly a Hall of Famer. Pete Carroll, probably a Hall of Famer. And Sean Payton, a Hall of Famer. There's a world. I don't think it's that crazy that we could sit up here next January and we're talking about the Chiefs not making the playoffs.
Before I let you guys respond to that, I want to quickly just say I'm going to read off the Chiefs' schedule next year. Obviously, we don't know who, when they're playing or where they're playing for the most part, but they're playing. Actually, I don't know where they're playing, just not when. At Buffalo, at Dallas, at Denver, at Jacksonville, Denver home, Chargers home, Raiders, Texans home, Colts home, Eagles home, Commanders home, Ravens home, Detroit home, Raiders on the road, Chargers road, Giants road, Tennessee road.
Damn.
That
sounds like 14.
It's like 3 or 4 games on there where it's like, okay, that's an automatic win.
That sounds like 14 losses to me.
I mean, they have Buffalo, Denver, Dallas. I mean, Denver twice, to Chargers twice, but you got Buffalo, you've got Baltimore, you've got the Commanders, you've got the Eagles, you've got the Texans, you got the Lions.
That's a tough schedule.
Sleep on the Jaguars.
I was say we're not sleep on them mighty Jaggies.
Jags gonna be tough.
Duval.
I got a hot take on them too.
Not surprised in the least that you got a hot take.
All right, does anyone have more comments on Kyle's? I'll quickly say I don't think they're missing the playoffs next year. Brady did miss the playoffs in 2002, but Brady also wasn't Tom Brady yet.
They missed it on a tiebreaker though. They didn't flat out miss. They missed on a tiebreaker.
They were 9-7, then they missed the playoffs, and then when Brady hurt his Achilles, they're 11-5 and missed the playoffs. Those are the 2 years that the Patriots throughout their whole entire dynastic run missed the playoffs.
They really only got pushed those Jets years though, and that second year with the Dolphins, I believe the Dolphins were the ones who snuck in on them at 9-7. Yeah. But again, I just laid it out. But Herbert, Harbaugh, Sean Payton, year 2 of Bo Nix, already a formidable defense. They're only going to
have to go 500 in the division, and then you would have to say against 2-2 in the NFC East. So that's 5-5, and then basically they'd have to play 500 football over the other ones, or close to 5-4, even a 6-3. They would have to. They'd have to get to 9-7, 9-8, or 10-7, but miss because of tiebreakers. Which could
happen. I'll say this: I know this is half-baked takes, but after you read off that schedule, I don't feel that bad about it. You know, that's not an easy schedule, and it'll all depend on the talent they have, and most importantly, how they draft. Most importantly, how they draft this upcoming offseason.
They have been drafting well for years, but do you guys have thoughts on it, Timmy, Branndon?
I would say they missed on their offensive line, though. Their offensive line is in trouble.
Yeah, and I'll agree with Kyle. I don't see Kansas City missing the playoffs, but with the cap situation, I know they don't have the best situation. I know they've got a lot of young guys that are going to need contracts coming up soon. Rashee Rice is going to need one here within a year or two. Trent McDuffie, Karlaftis, like there's a lot of young guys that they drafted that they're going to have to pay. But I mean, for there to even be a world, their division has just got to be like the Chargers have to be a 12-win team. The Broncos have to be a 12-win team. Like Denver's going to have to go out and redo their whole receiving corps. The Chargers are too. And then honestly, like with the Raiders, like if the Raiders go out and get a certain someone at quarterback that I saw today, then that could make the Raiders pretty formidable. And I see Timmy smiling. I think Timmy might know who I'm talking about.
Staffy map.
But yeah, that would make the division pretty damn tough. Probably the best division in football. But I don't know. I don't see a world where Kansas City misses the playoffs. Like if they did, like if they went 10-7 and missed, like I'd genuinely be shocked.
Timmy, you?
I think it's unlikely. I think the thing that we're forgetting is Rashee Rice. He was on a heater to start the season, and then they take him away. And then from that point on is when the offense really started to look bad. I think if Kelsey retires, I'm on board. I could definitely say that they missed the playoffs. You just listed out that schedule. That's a juggernaut. That's a gauntlet schedule the whole year. They have to play those teams. It's not just like one section that they get that tough part. I want you to put a stamp on this. Give me a record. How do they miss?
Ooh.
The 10-7, 9-8 route sounds more likely. I'm gonna tell you this, all right? So obviously check in with me, especially like let's say June check in with me, but especially check in obviously August when we do the preseason pod. But again, I gave you the rationale. You have 3 tough teams there. They're only going to get better. Kelsey's on the downward spiral, okay? They're not going to be able to kind of take these games off offensively the way they did this year. I thought they were – I mean, shit, I said it week after week. That was the most fortunate 15-win Super Bowl participant I've ever seen. Even given that it's a Mahomes and Andy Reid team, it just really seemed like they were punching above their weight and honestly getting somewhat lucky in a lot of these games. And if you don't take my word for it, take it from a Chiefs fan. Aaron Medley, I told you this, big Chiefs fan, he even said, was like, yo, bro, I don't even know how we're winning these games. I don't know how we're winning the division. I don't know, but we're there. So I get it, the infrastructure, but I'm going to tell you this. As of right now, I'm feeling 25 to 35% confident in it. And then after Keenan read that schedule, I feel a little more confident. So maybe I'll put a bullet on it after the draft, after free agency, but there's holes there. There's leaks, and we saw it. We saw it in the Super Bowl. We saw. I mean, it was an ugly game for him. I don't see Kelsey getting any better. Speaking of Kelsey and speaking of aging tight ends, you guys see that, and I don't know if this is any truth to this at all.
Rob Gronkowski wants to come back. Yeah,
Gronk wants to come back.
Yeah, they debunked that today.
Did they? Okay.
Jordan Schultz, I think it was, came out today and said that. I guess Gronkowski answered it. And he's like, that's not true.
I can't imagine why he would. He's not coming out unless Tom Brady's coming back.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
So
Gronk will not catch another pass from anybody else not named Tom Brady. That's a fact.
Brady can't since he's a minor.
Brady's not. So yeah. But all right. Do anything else, or am I good to go? I've got a few actually cooking up right now. I've been thinking more of what's going on. First one I'm going to do will be one will technically be a result of another one-ish, but we're going to get to the other one later. Mike McDaniel is going to get fired midway through next season.
Okay.
I don't know if that feels bold to you guys, but that's a prediction. I think Mike McDaniel is getting fired midway through. I think the Dolphins are in a position now they had a kind of offensive peak. People are starting to figure out the Mike McDaniel a little bit more. Like, obviously, early season, he does well. And then people are kind of figuring out the scheme. I think Tyreek Hill's probably going to get moved or make things unhappy and make it awkward there. I could see them really having, obviously, Devon Achane and then Jalen Waddle. But Jalen Waddle is a number one, maybe not being the guy who is at the same level as he is as a number two, especially with Tyreek Hill across. Jonnu Smith is good, but them being 1-5 and last in the division, and then Mike McDaniel's catching the axe before the trade deadline, or before the trade deadline.
Before the trade deadline, yeah. That's not bold at all.
Okay, like I didn't know if that feels bold or not feels bold to you, but I think Mike McDaniel's fired before.
He could have gotten fired this year, regardless of Tua. Like, honestly, because even with Tua, like Miami was not very good. Like, and they haven't been.
I could see it. A lot of it for me would be contingent on what happens with Tyreek. I do think if Tua is healthy, especially early season, that's kind of where the Dolphins thrive. And it would be hard for me to see them be the worst in the division only because the Jets are there and we don't know what their QB situation is. But that being said, it could all still happen. It would be very contingent on Tyreek Hill. But like you said, this involves Tyreek Hill getting traded. And who knows? I actually kind of liked how Mike McDaniel coached down the stretch without Tua to end the season. And I think this year will be a hot seat year for him. So I do think it is make or break for Mike McDaniel. But I do think if they were to fire him, this is just me personally, it would be after the season. But if it was a train wreck start, like what you're saying, then of course, that's always on the table. So I see the vision.
Okay.
I think it would be bold to say that they're worse. They're bad. They're worse in the division. Like Kyle said, the Jets are there. The Patriots are also there, guys. They're not going to be a star-studded lineup this year.
You're talking about the 2025 Super Bowl winning New England Patriots.
Yeah.
You're talking about the New England Patriots that are making the playoffs this year.
Oh, boy.
That's
you got to wait for your turn, Keith. You got to wait your turn.
Yeah. Going out of order.
Hey,
I said that after I said Super Bowl champion, but obviously I'm being facetious. But playoffs,
Yeah.
Keen, I might be with you on that. I might be with you. Give us the draft. Give us the offseason.
No,
I
listen.
might be with you.
Oh, listen, no, we're fine. I'll wait for my turn. It's the reason why Mike McDaniel's getting fired.
That would make sense.
where you're going with
That would
this.
make sense. Hey, I'll say this with the Jets. With the Jets being where they are,
Loyalty over money. We're loyal to the Patriots 24/7, man. It's loyalty over money here.
I could see it. But we'll talk about that later, possibly. All right, Petty, you go again.
All right, so this is the second one that you and I talked about, Kyle. I'm switching the team though, because of I told you my early prediction for Super Bowl, for who's going to win the Super Bowl next year. Now I told Kyle that it was going to be the Los Angeles Rams. Okay,
With confidence.
with
a bullet.
This is I'm
Should have
changing
kept
my
it in confidence because that should not have gotten out. Anyway, sorry, go on.
So my thought process behind this initially, and like I said, this is not. I'm changing it to a different team.
Okay.
But I'll just give you my thought process beforehand. Okay.
Wait,
Before
time
the whole Matthew
out.
thing.
Before you go on. Let's say Stafford stays. Let's say he does not get traded, doesn't go anywhere. Are you sticking with the Rams?
No. Because I thought about this. I'm actually gonna
2 weeks, Branndon.
So here's the reason being.
Kyle, that's like 288 hours. That's a lot of hours to change your mind.
That's right. Brandon's been laid up. He's had a lot of time to think about this too.
My thought process was, okay, you're getting rid of Cooper Kupp. They got to bring in, another receiver too. And I told you, like, the format for them to get there would be, what was it, 2020, 2021? Or no, earlier, actually, 18 and 19, whatever. 3 wide, and they had Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. Like, you go out and formulate another offense like that. Go make an upgraded tight end over Tyler Higbee and Colby Parkinson or whoever it is. You've got Kyron Williams. Like, the defense is great. Like, they had a ton of first and second year guys on the defense. I think their defense is going to be very good for years to come. They got Jared Verse, Brayden Fisk, Cody Turner, Byron Young. They've got young guys on the back end of the secondary. But I was thinking about it, and like I said, I'm going to change my team. I'm going to change my team to the Cincinnati Bengals. It's going to be a multi-layered thing.
That shit ain't hot.
I think Cincinnati goes 15-2 next year. I think Joe Burrow wins the MVP, passes for over 5,000 yards, over 40 touchdowns.
Yep.
And
Keep talking.
I think Cincinnati wins the Super Bowl.
Keep talking. Absolutely.
So my thought process behind this is Cincinnati's offense this past year was good enough to win them virtually any game against anyone.
For sure.
The problem was their defense. They left their defensive coordinator with honestly like a very barren defense. Like, yeah, you've got Trey Hendrickson. They're like
they paid guys. They just didn't know who to pay.
Yeah, they paid the wrong guys.
They just didn't know who to give money to. Here,
like
take
out,
it.
Like Cam Taylor-Britt and like guys like that in the secondary. Like their defense was atrocious. Like with the league average defense in every major statistical category, like that's probably a 13-14 win team. Like let's be real. Like with Chase Brown,
at least an 11 win team.
Yeah,
they make the playoffs easily with a regular
Super Bowl offense for sure.
Yeah,
with Chase Brown, with Jamar, with T Higgins, with Yoshi Voss, like. So my thought process was, okay, they gotta figure it out with T. Okay, you gotta bring T back, whether it's a franchise tag, pay him, pay Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow said he would restructure his contract. You got your running back with Chase Brown there. Maybe address the offensive line a little bit, but you load up on that defense. You keep Trey Hendrickson. Do whatever you got to do to keep Trey Hendrickson. This year's class is very good, like on the defensive side, especially like with DBs, corner safety, stuff like that. If there's a world where you can somehow trade up and get Will Johnson at corner, I've seen a mock draft that he's available like anywhere from like 5 to 15. I don't know where Cincinnati picks that off the top of my head. I think it's in the early teens. If you could somehow go out and get Will Johnson, plug him at corner, you go and get another pass rusher opposite of Trey Hendrickson. You beef up your linebackers, you go get a ball hawk at free safety, and you really just retool the defense, and then go get a third wide receiver. I really like Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's to me, he's a top 3 quarterback. Honestly, I think it's.
Wait, hold on. He's better than Lamar or Allen.
Personally, I would, if we're going off of this year,
just like right now, just better than Lamar or Allen. Which one? Because or Mahomes. I mean, I hope it's not Mahomes. I really hope it's not Mahomes. I hope it's Lamar or Allen.
Even though Mahomes had a bad year, it depends on your offense. The offense that I would run, if I was running an offense like Cincinnati where it's a vertical offense, then yes, I would take Joe Burrow over Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're 2 different quarterbacks. I mean, honestly, you could put Lamar, Josh Allen, and Mahomes your top 3 and put Burrow at 4. I don't care.
They're the top 4, but I just needed to make sure if you had him definitively at 3, if he was better than Allen or Jackson. Go on with what you're saying about the Bengals. I'm going to I
got to say this because it was me and Branndon who, we got to the Rams Super Bowl thing. I got to say, Bengals is not a hot enough take for me because I think a lot of people are going to be on the Bengals by the time we get to July, August. So it's a hot take early on.
I was thinking about it. I was I thought about some other teams, but honestly, from them missing the playoffs from 9 to 8, I do agree with you, Kyle. But I think how they do it is going to be in such a dominating fashion that it's damn, we thought Cincinnati was going to be good, but we didn't think they'd be this good. Because honestly, all they really have to do, I think if they shore up the offensive line just a tad bit and get Joe Burrow just a little bit more protection and just really go all in on the defense.
And just trade for Justin Jefferson and make it LSU 2.0.
Honestly, just go do something.
No, I know you're right though. They need to. Their offense is fine regardless. I mean, T. Higgins is great. Them keeping T. Higgins is great. But honestly, as long as you have almost said Lamar Chase. As long as you have Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, Lamar Chase would be an insane player. But as long as you have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, you can fill in that number 2, and you're going to be just fine. So, yeah.
Okay. I mean, you could throw a guy like
Lamar Chase.
yeah, I mean, you could throw anybody out there, like you said. But honestly, like I do think like I wouldn't be surprised if Cincinnati was the best team in their division next year. Better than Baltimore, better than Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Like I could see, especially if they go all in on defense like they should. If they do that, then there's no reason for them not to make a Super Bowl run and win the whole thing. Like there's honestly no reason for them to not be the best team in football if they shore up the defense.
I hear that. Tim, your response as well as your next take.
I'm waiting for Timmy to say something about the Giants. I can feel it.
I got nothing about the Giants.
Oh,
Sorry
man.
to burst your bubble. I
Pop.
I kind of agree with what Kyle said. You know, a lot of people are going to be on the Bengals this year. I'm probably going to be on the Bengals this year. They were a 9-win. Or did they make 10? No, they made 9.
They were 9-8. Wish
9-8,
10.
and they had no defense. I'm a little worried what a defense full of rookies would look like. I think signing a couple vets would be more important. But like you said, drafting a lot. There's a lot of defensive talent in this year's draft, so they could get first and second round picks that are impact players year one, no doubt. So I
They
could
have to look
definitely
at the
see it.
Howie Roseman, what the Eagles did.
Yeah.
Get some guys, hit some guys in free agency. Get your guys in the draft.
Let some people fall to them in their picks. And
Don't play well early so your guys can develop. And if you lose a game in November, it's not the end of the world.
Because all they need is an average defense. Like, I mean, let's be real. An average defense, if you're 15th to 17th in every statistical category, then like that's probably a damn good.
That's a
team.
12-win
good
team
enough.
at least right there.
That's the 2000s Colts. I think just that's Peyton Manning's Colts further, but they had some impact. Obviously, they had Freeney, and then obviously they towards the back half of the 2000s when they had Bob Sanders and they had some talent. It was like,
Robert Mathis, yeah.
Robert Mathis to along with Freeney. You're like, geez, this team's got some talent on defense too. But Timmy, go on.
I don't even necessarily think that they need to get a wide receiver 3 for this to work. We just saw it work without one. They could probably run it back with the same offense, like you said, a little bit better offensive line and be perfectly fine. And as long as the defense plays better, new defensive coordinator maybe makes an impact right away, and then they win easily 3 or 4 more games. So it wouldn't be crazy to see that they get to 15.
Jasecki's essentially their 3 too. Like he got a lot of targets
pretty good.
Burrow this year.
Yeah, that is true. I forgot.
Chase
I
Brown's
didn't know if he was
essentially
under
their 3
contract.
too. I mean, he caught a lot of the
Big deal,
backfield.
yeah.
He was really good. He was an impact player. They
I
need to
just
get
thought if
another
you went
running
out and
back.
got like a Tyler Boyd type guy, like
Get him back.
Reunite.
Get him back.
That's like a Christian Kirk kind of guy. Like if
Oh, yeah,
somebody
no.
in that mold, like a
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Get a nice underneath guy for sure.
yeah.
I dig it. Going into my next one, I think this year Bijan Robinson is going to be the RB1. I think he's going to finish
Absolutely.
with 2,500 all-purpose yards this year. He's going to blow up. He's going to average well over 100 a game. He's going to have some big-ass games this year.
Hook 'em horns, baby.
Let's
2,500.
go. Bijan's my guy. And 2,500 is insane. 2,500
about-
is like a genuinely insane
What
thing.
are we doing for total TDs here? We got a total TDs.
I'll give him 22. That's a
Ooh,
lot.
Good number.
So
Good number.
it-
Good
That
number.
is a lot. I don't know
Tim, I
about
like it.
you. I'm
it.
feeling 22.
I personally like that. Tim, you're definitely bringing the heat. Undefeated season, 2,500 total yard season from Bijan, who's not been underwhelming. This was definitely his best season out of his first 2 seasons, but it would be a large leap to say the least. So
Underutilized is what the problem is. He just doesn't
Way
get them.
underutilized.
He got 300 carries this year, got to 1,500 yards and 14 touchdowns, but like it felt like he could just give him the ball more. I don't know. Just I wish they gave him the ball more.
5-6 targets a game, like
Yeah,
maybe more.
they started the year giving him 18, 14, 16, 7, 12, 15 carries. And then by the end of the year, they're like, wait, we should probably give this guy like 20 carries a game.
Because they kept Algier involved like all year long. He'd get 10 carries a game. That's enough to take it away from Bijan.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things where you're like, wait a second, guys.
and they
this
had
this guy may
they
not
have
be
Cordell
exactly
Patterson over there
Saquon.
too?
Yeah, they did early. They used him early. They tried to veer away from him a little later. It's like this guy might not be Saquon Barkley, but like he's he's the closest thing in the league that we'd have to that kind of athlete. His in the box quickness is insane. He can juke and
like
continue.
Bijan is like that's who I think he could be. Like
absolutely, like his shiftiness because he's got strength, size, and he can put his foot in the ground and still keep himself at top speed. Like he is insane. Utilize him like he's your best player.
For
Kyle
sure.
Pitts resurgence. Anyone for a bold take? Anyone? Going once? Going
We
twice?
saw it a little
Gators, baby.
We saw it a little bit last year. Actually, wait, Branndon,
I will die on that hill, huh?
didn't you didn't you have a take regarding Kyle Pitts?
I do.
Okay, yeah, I feel like you told me one.
I do actually. I do. Thank you for reminding me. Actually, I do. I just remembered it.
My bad. I didn't mean to force. I didn't
my
know.
memory serves correct. It involves another team, but I do not remember correctly. Tim, I like that take.
I didn't know.
So let me hit y'all with this, okay? I actually just workshopped this in the prior episode that me and Tim just did, so y'all are not privy to this. If in the event that Matt Stafford gets traded, I've got the Rams replacing him with Aaron Rodgers. That's right. They're going to replace him with an older quarterback, and that's really it. I just want to see the Sean McVay, Aaron Rodgers experiment. Says he wants to play in warm weather. He would technically, I believe, be cheaper than Stafford because you're probably signing him to a 2-year deal, so he'll be more affordable. So that's really it. Rodgers, what's up?
You think they
going
keep
home? Yeah, that's right. He's a
California,
Cali
right?
kid. He's a Cali
He's
kid.
a Cali
That's
kid,
right.
so he can go home.
Yeah.
Sure.
He had a
I
surgery.
don't know where.
Like he's got. Yeah.
Sure. So
Go
yeah,
home. You can really get
that's
high
right.
on
Yeah,
ayahuasca there,
he is
man.
a Yay area kid, but yeah, Rodgers
Get that
to
Snoop
Cali.
Dogg in him too.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, Snoop. You'll have Aaron Rodgers and McVay. That's really the genesis of this, and the fact that they're going to want to compete, and the fact that he will be available, the fact that Stafford wants more money, $50 million, as we talked about. So yeah, it's contingent on that, half baked, but there you have it.
Half baked because Aaron Rodgers is, or half baked just because like the take is?
All around.
Just checking.
Ayusaka Aaron.
Yeah, man. Woodstock was crazy, bro. Woodstock.
The retreat was awesome, dude.
Dude, that was insane.
I actually got to go watch that doc that he did that I think features him on an ayahuasca trip, which I did say was like my wish. And I think like I got my wish and I never actually watched it. So I got to watch that along with that gold medal doc too, by the way. So yeah.
Oh, that's really good. Quarter gold's really good.
It looks good.
Quick sidebar before I talk about actually the Aaron Rodgers move and what. So the core, I'm not giving anything away, but they have, I don't know if you saw, but they have like different footage from like all the other teams too, not just the United States. So like you see like into the Serbia locker room, the France locker room. I don't really see much into the German locker room, but like you get to see like them, and then Nicholas Batum's talking, Steph, KD, Steve Kerr, Grant Hill. So it's actually really cool. I watched it over the last few days, and it's actually really good. They break down a lot of the other games too, and then they get to like obviously the whole entire thing. So it's a good documentary.
For sure.
But on the Aaron Rodgers thing, I think that'd be very interesting to see him with another electric personality in like a different way. Obviously, like Aaron Rodgers is an electric personality, but he's on his own different side of it. It's not like he's just like in your face, but he does have like strong opinions, and he kind of is fine being arrogant. And Sean McVay's arrogant in his own sense. He's very good, don't get me wrong, but Sean McVay kind of gives off that like I'm the smartest guy in the room, but it's kind of true, so no one asks, like no one cares about it, like kind of thing. But he does really good. Like obviously he's a really good players coach and everything. So I think it'd be really interesting to see those two minds meld, and it could go like maybe butt heads because both of them are two very strong personalities. But at the same time, if they were able to get together and be like, okay, this is our goal, then it could be two strong personalities. In the short term, I think it'd be fine. I think if you were to have Aaron Rodgers and McVay long term, I think they would probably butt heads after a minute. But I think sure in the short team it could be really cool. Anything else from anybody else, or am I just going on why the Patriots are making the playoffs?
Hit it.
I was just going to say that's not. They were actually talking about it today. I think on like NFL Live or something. It was God, who was it? Might have been Booger McFarland or somebody else.
Booger.
Said that if there was a world where Stafford did go to the Raiders, then Rodgers would end up in the Rams and bring Devontae Adams with him.
Interesting.
Because the Jets would essentially release him more than likely, and Adams would follow Rodgers out west. But which makes sense because I'm pretty sure Devontae went to Fresno State.
Yes, he did because he went to Fresno State because he played with Derek Carr.
Derek Carr, yeah.
So that would be replacing Cooper Kupp with Devontae Adams, and then you'd be replacing Matt Stafford with Aaron Rodgers, and then you'd have the same defense. So, I mean, essentially, they wouldn't take a step back. Are you sure you don't want to get out? You don't want to get back on the Rams hill to the championship, Super Bowl?
I don't like it with Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, fair enough.
I think it's got to be Matthew Stafford for me.
Just wanted to throw that back out there. Timmy, do you have any comments on this at all before I hop in?
I will say my take on Aaron Rodgers a little bit later when it's my turn.
Can't wait to hear.
Okay, I love it.
Can't wait.
Yeah, so the Patriots are making the playoffs this year. Why? Because new teams make the playoffs every single year. That's 1. 2, we didn't think the Commanders were going to make the playoffs this year. The Commanders made it to the NFC Championship game. So we have teams in that situation. You need a good quarterback. They have that. You need a very good coach to get to the playoffs for sure. They have that. And Mike Vrabel, they already said they wanted to be aggressive in free agency. And Mike Vrabel's going to make smart moves. We've seen him take lesser teams and put them to the number 1 seed, get them to the AFC Championship game. They have the 4th pick in the draft. I do think, and this is tough now because I know he's been moving up and down boards. My prayers are out to Abdul Carter. Please just go Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Shador Sanders. Even though I know you think, or just go whatever. I don't really care. Or the Patriots trade up for him. Really don't care. I want Abdul Carter on this roster, and I need him now. We'll go get offensive linemen. Listen, he could, but I mean, it's also tough too. That's also very tough too. But anyways, I think that the Patriots are going to make actual splashes, like legitimate splashes in free agency. They're going to get offensive line help. Mike Vrabel likes to build teams inside out. When you get the offensive and defensive line and build from there, you've got a guy in Drake May who's going to have a real coach behind him and have a real organization finally be there. So I think that the Patriots are making the playoffs this year. They're going to be a 10-plus win team. I probably have them at 10-7, being the 6th seed in the AFC. Just so we don't have to ask there. They're going to be 2nd in the division. Buffalo's probably going to win it at 11-6, 12-5. I don't think they're better than Buffalo, but I think they're going to be competing for the division close to week 15, 16, and then Buffalo will lock it up because Buffalo's a very good team. Patriots in the playoffs.
Quick response. I see the vision. It technically could happen. The AFC East is by default going to be weaker. Miami being the wild card because I think the Jets, it's just an obvious rebuild. Bills,
Miami's going to have their coach fired halfway through the season. So
that's right. In your world, it's playing out perfectly.
Nothing to worry about there.
I'll tell you this right now. Obviously, this is before anything. Before the draft, free agency, all that. To me, Pats right now sit at like a 7-9 win team, right? It would be everyone else, though. It would be all the other divisions. It would be the AFC West and the AFC North that I think would prevent the Pats from getting in the playoffs. So I could see them being competitive and being, on the bubble, especially week 15.
They'll knock the Chiefs out.
Hey, you know what? We're right there.
They'll have a tiebreaker with the Chiefs, and because they have a better in-division or in-conference record, they'll knock the Chiefs out.
Throw the tee up.
I will say this.
Hey, yo, get him out of here.
Between Vrabel, if they could beef up the offensive line, right, and if they will. And Vrabel gets that defense playing well, and they could just go ball control, and I've been saying this since the last year of the Belichick era, even before that, those last 2 years of the Belichick era. If they could go ball control, run the ball effectively, play good defense, make life simple for Drake May, sure. Being that they'll have a last place schedule, yeah, there's a world. But I'm not ready to get in on that
heavy running back draft
yet.
Too.
That's good news to me.
Heavy running
That's
back
great
draft.
news to me.
Keenan, so we could get it running third round.
All three of you know this better than me, but where the Pats are, what about Gianti to the Pats? Is there any chance that happens?
Say that again because that last part cut out.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Gianti to the
You're
Pats. Any chance of that?
Yes and no. So would he be available at 4? Absolutely.
Of course. He's
Are they
available
going
at
to take
4.
him at 4? Yeah, I was going to say, will they take him? There's a slim chance because they need offensive line help and they need they need edge help more. So I could see them either taking Will Campbell. I could see them taking Carter. Or like if they for some reason were like, let's get a wide receiver, I could see them taking McMillan, but like I don't see that happening. But like those would probably be the 3 people. Or
Branndon had sold me on
reason,
McMillan last time we were having this talk. He sold me on McMillan.
McMillan's fine. McMillan's great. Like he would be amazing to have with him. The only other player that possibly would be Travis Hunter if for some reason he got past 3, which I couldn't see. That'd be 2 quarterbacks and Carter going before him. So for some reason, if Hunter, they're like, I don't really love it. And we're like, yeah, let's put Hunter across from Christian Gonzalez and not let people catch passes. Okay. That's fine. That'd be fine with me too. And he could catch a couple passes for us. So, but I would love it. Sorry.
Okay.
Go on.
Okay.
I could see that. Like Kyle said, I thought so if I want McMillan in Jacksonville. Like if Jacksonville took McMillan at 5th overall, because I think he's going to light up the combine, especially at his size. Like he's a big body guy, like 6'5", 215. Like
he's elite.
I think he's a better receiver prospect than Travis Hunter. Like I genuinely do.
He's the best receiver in this draft. Hunter's just obviously a better player because he can do both. But receiving wise, yeah, for sure.
Like I would take him and Luther Burden over Travis Hunter. Luther Burden's another ball out of Missouri. I was actually, Kyle and I talked about this a little bit. I was like, look, if I agree, beefing up the offensive line. Like if you go out and draft McMillan, and then I don't know what the receiver corps is going to look like for free agency right now. It's a little too early to tell. But say if you go out and bring in like a stud number 2 receiver, and then another running back. Like if you go out and get Amarian Hampton from North Carolina or Travion Henderson. Like Travion Henderson.
Oh, they're getting Scattaboo. Scattaboo is such a Patriots player. Oh my God.
Yeah,
he just fits. Timmy, you know it too. He fits so much of a Patriot. He can do a little bit of everything.
Color for me.
No, it really is. They would treat him just like, okay, so he's gonna run the ball a little bit, he's gonna catch the ball, he's gonna throw the ball. I mean, we saw him do all of that in the playoff game. I'm telling you, they would love Scattaboo in the 3rd round. Like that just feels so New England, and I'm ready for it. I love it. It's like Julian Edelman meets Danny Whitehead. It's like, I would love it.
Woodhead.
There's another player that.
Scattaboo from Iowa State. Iowa State. He was
Arizona State.
Oh, sorry, Arizona State. My bad. I don't know why Iowa State came to my head. I think same colors, but like I don't know why Iowa State came to my head. But from Arizona State, he was very good. He was their best offensive player on that team last year, even though their quarterback did very well, especially in the playoffs. But like, he is just a guy who does a little bit of everything. In that game against Texas, he ran for a touchdown. I believe he received for a touchdown or had like a big reception up the side, and then he threw for almost a touch. Like he was doing everything in that game.
He had
especially
over 200 all-purpose yards.
Yeah, no. So like he is
99 reception yards and like 120 something rushing.
Yeah, he was there, and then he also threw it back. Like he just feels so. If you were to watch literally a minute and a half of highlight, Kyle, you'd be like, Bill Belichick would salivate over this guy. Like, this guy does everything. He works hard. He's gonna block well. He's gonna run. He's gonna run downhill. He's gonna have good hands. Smart. Like he is everything. Everything Bill Belichick wants in a player.
He's just a gritty player.
You're good.
Keenan, there is one other player that I wanted to get your thoughts of. New England's not going to draft him, but he's one of my favorite players in the draft. I obviously watch a lot of college football. I pay attention to college more than NFL. He's a tight end, but he fits to me, he just seems like the prototypical Patriots tight end, and that's Tyler Warren from Penn State. He's projected in that 8 to 10 range. So
if we traded down, I would love it.
Yeah.
If you could tell me right now, like, let me look at this draft order. If we said, hey, Carolina, we'll trade down for you, like, say Carter and maybe Carter's off the board with, like, Hunter, and they're like, hey, we're going to trade down with you. You guys can get McMillan to pair with Bryce Young. So now you guys have a legitimate one to pair with Bryce Young going forward. And we got to 8 and Warren was there. Yeah. Yeah, no, I would be all for that because he can do a little of everything, and I like that a lot. You know what, Timmy, I want your thoughts too because you pay attention to college. So what do you think about that exact move?
Tyler Warren would be interesting. Tyler Warren's like a really weird tight end because, yes, he was like potentially the best tight end in football this year, but Brock Bowers was better than him, and Brock went later than he's projected to go, so that's kind of confusing.
I think it's just because of like the draft was stronger last year. You have to think it Caleb, Jaden, obviously Drake May, so like
that's
Penix
true.
went higher.
There was definitely more offensive prowess last year's draft than this year's draft, so that is going to tie into that.
Yeah.
I could agree that Tyler Warren would definitely be a good fit. He gives you a pass catcher because they obviously need any of those will help their team. And then he can also block, so he's going to be good in both situations. So that would be a good pick. Taking him at 4 would be a little high, a little out of my range for sure. But if they could, like you said, trade back to the 10 or the 12 spot and get him there, sure, I would be down for it. To rebuttal your Patriots making the playoffs talk, playoffs.
Talking about playoffs.
I don't think that's in any of the cards because you brought up the Commanders. You said, hey, the Commanders didn't make it last year, and they surprised everybody. The Commanders got Jaden Daniels, who was a better QB prospect than Drake May. They had Terry McLaurin. They signed Zach Ertz, Austin Eckler. They had Brian Robinson. The Patriots have an aging Ramondre. That's what they got. They got nothing else, and they have a holy O-line. They got, like, cheese at offensive line. They missed on all their wide receiver picks last year. So what's that going to say about all their wide receiver picks this year? I don't know. So that's my pushback on that. I could see the defense being good. I can see them running the ball well.
So
I don't know
they
about
have
making playoffs.
So last year, the Commanders' defense last year is not as good as the Patriots' defense this year. Am I fine to say that? Like right now, what we think of the Patriots defense, I don't think it's as good. I think it's better than what we thought last year of the Commanders defense, even going into the season.
I think they'll even out. I think they'll be very close.
But I think
Dan Quinn was the reason that Washington's defense was like so good this year. I think if you
I
had
agree.
anybody else than Dan Quinn, then no.
I agree. I think that, and that's coaching. And I think we got one of the best coaches in the league in Mike Vrabel. So you have Mike Vrabel with Drake May, who is, yes, he is a raw prospect, and obviously he wasn't the exact prospect as Jaden Daniels. Obviously, if we're going back to the draft, should Jaden Daniels go 1? Should Jaden Daniels go 3? Should Jaden Daniels go 2? There was like talks about all 3 because there's talks maybe Drake May should go before Jaden Daniels. They were in the same bucket. Obviously, right now, they're not in the same bucket. I'm not even trying to remotely say it. They're not in the same bucket. That Jaden's a clear steps ahead of Drake May right now with what he did last year. But I think Drake May, with his ability to play off scripts, but also the ability to throw within the pocket, he's got a cannon of an arm. If you get a running game behind him, and Mike Vrabel, one thing he does love to do is run. And I truly think there are definitely impact running backs who you can draft right now. You mentioned, obviously, Giantis, of course, he can play right now. But, like, as I said, Scadaboo's perfect Patriot player, but I truly think he could play. I think Henderson can play. I think there's just a lot of people in this draft at running back that you could get 2nd, 3rd, 4th, even 5th round that can go in there and instantly produce. That's going to elevate the running game. And it really comes down, you're right, Timmy, it comes down to what pass catchers can they get around Drake May. That's where free agency comes in, and that's where I think when you have the allure of Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, okay, we can go get Brandon Cooks. We can go, obviously, we have Julian Edelman. We can go get Brandon Lloyd. They didn't go overspend, but people were like, Chad Ochocinco was like, yeah, let me go. Like, people wanted to go play with Brady. Then you got to Bill Belichick, Mac Jones. It was like, eh. Then this team was going downhill. It was like, eh. You got Gerard Mayo there. You're like, I don't know who this guy is. Sure, maybe. I don't really know. I think now that you have an adult and Mike Vrabel, a guy who you know, okay, I can be in a good situation. We can do good things here. He is going to elevate me as a player. Obviously, Boston's a very good market, but depends on if you're fine living in the cold or not. Like, I always, as a kid, I was like, why wouldn't you go to this team? Like, they have so many good players. It's like, well, I don't want to live in Milwaukee. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to Milwaukee. Like, you never took that in as an 11-year-old. You're like, why wouldn't you want to go join Giannis and Dame, Kevin Durant? It's like, I'm not a Milwaukee guy. I'm not a Milwaukee. Send me to Houston or Dallas. I promise you. No state income tax and it's warm. I got you. But, like, so – you're right. It depends on their offseason, and I think I'm projecting they're going to have a very good offseason. That's also kind of my prediction behind it. If they suck in the offseason, I might amend that, but that's why we're doing hot takes right now, Tim. But yes, fair enough.
I could see it being a Denver situation, like honestly, because like nobody thought that Bo Nix. Like I like Bo Nix coming out of college. Like I thought Bo Nix was good. I'm not going to sit here and say I thought Denver was going to make the playoffs because I never thought that for once. But like, I agree. Like if you go out and like you hammer, like I really do think that you need to go out and get like a solid 2 or 3 wide receivers. Like I really don't because you don't know if Jalen Polk is going to be your guy. You don't know if Javon Baker or Pop Douglas or like any of those guys are going to be anything. You know,
Jalen Polk needs to not do much. I mean, he tried to make himself sound like he was better than what he was. Like love if you have Douglas as your 3. Then we're fine. I'm like him as a 3. Perfect. Like if he was in Cincinnati as a 3, that's a perfect guy. He's a really good underneath route run. He can catch. When he's your 1,
slot receiver.
When he's your 1, you're like, what are we gonna do? So if he was your 3 and we got a 1, we got a 2, and then he's your 3, then we're like, okay, we can roll with this. So that's just a hope. You just everything needs to fall.
Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper tight end.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like Hunter Henry, but like when Hunter Henry gets to be a feature in the offense, it's really nice. Like when he is your offense, and we're like, we need Rob Gronkowski production out of him to get a good production offensively. It's like it's the same thing kind of to. I was talking with Kyle about this. Actually, Timmy, you were there too. We're talking about the Jimmy Butler trade. I think I was with you, Timmy, too, when you were talking about it. But I was like, when the Jimmy Butler trade happened for the Warriors, I was like, the Warriors' mindset was, if you get Jimmy, everybody else falls in line to where they're supposed to be. So, like, instead of, like, Steph, he's always going to be Steph. So, like, instead of Branndon Pajemski off the bench having to be your main scorer, he now can fall in line to being your hustle guy. Instead of Moses Moody needing to be a guy who has to put up 15, he can just put up 8, make a couple corner threes, and play solid defense like he does. Draymond doesn't have to be the offensive force he has to. Gary Payton doesn't have to be the offensive force that you need. So, like, just getting a guy like that is better than you think because then it puts every other person into their respective proper role rather than playing out of their role, which is why I think they're playing well right now because you have pods, okay, play defense, make some timely plays, make some good passes, rebound at a high level. Got it. Draymond, you just play high-level defense, high-level play. Got it. Moses Mooney, quarter threes defense. Okay, I can do that. Buddy Hield, come in off the bench, be a little spark plug. Got it. Steph, you don't have to work so hard because Jimmy can get post plays, and he can take minutes off of the floor while you're on the floor because he's going to get to the free throw line. You can rest for 2 minutes. When he gets to the line, 3 straight possessions. Got it. So then that's why I think they're doing so much better now because everyone's fallen in line. And I think the same thing with a receiving core. When you're not asking Yossi Vosh to be the number 1, you're asking him to be the number 3, then he's actually a good player. But when you're like, hey, could you be Jamar Chase for us? I don't know if it could be. So that kind of thing.
No, I definitely I agree with that. Like it's kind of like when we had like Christian Kirk as our de facto number 1. It's like like Christian Kirk's a good receiver, but it's like you're asking him to do way too much. Like that's not his role. Like it's not the role that he's suited for. So like
along Brian Thomas, you can make Christian Kirk look even better. Kind of, it's like, it all makes sense. Like when you're playing out of your role, if you're a role player who's supposed to be playing 22 minutes and you play 32 and you're playing 50 snaps and you should be playing 25, 30 snaps and you're not doing the same thing. Like it's roles just matter so much, situation matters so much. So that's why those things matter. And I've realized that the more I've gotten older, like again, when I was like 16, I just never got it. There's so much all-star talent on this roster. What's going on? Does anyone have any other hot takes right now? Oh yeah, you have your Aaron Rodgers thought. Do you have more than just that, Timmy?
Yeah, I got two more, but one of them has already been expressed on the pod. I just want to get your guys' opinion on it.
Yeah.
So I said that one I think 2 weeks ago. I did that one, but I have my Aaron Rodgers one. If you want me to go with that,
I would like you to give both out right now, and we'll talk about both.
All right, I'll give you the Aaron Rodgers one. I think Aaron Rodgers does not get signed by a single team. I don't think any team wants him. And I think they're all going to say, let's leave the drama in the past and let's move on. I don't think any team's going to come out here and say, yeah, the Jets, that's exactly what I want to happen to my franchise. And we're going to go invest millions and millions of dollars in it. So I think he'll be the QB of the couch this year. And that's how that's going down. Wow. If you want to rebuttal, go right ahead.
I agree. Here's the thing. The only team that would make sense would be the Rams. So if Stafford doesn't leave, because
that's such AFC, a big if.
Yeah, no, it is just a bit let's go through. I'm going to go through these teams as quick as possible. AFC East, no. Because obviously the Jets there, and you're not Tua, Josh Allen, Drake May. No. The AFC North, Ravens, no. Steelers,
maybe.
They will say they want Russell Wilson.
I don't think Tomlin wants to deal with Rodgers. Not at all.
I don't think so either. But that would
fit, though.
Yeah, see, that would it would have to be a team that's in a win now situation who is fine with a 1-year quarterback. Cincy, clearly not. The Cleveland Browns are not that. They're not at that point. And then,
no.
And then you've got the South. The Texans, no. The Colts, no. The Jags, no. The Titans, no. And then you've got the West. The Chiefs, no. Chargers, no.
Don't sleep on the Colts.
The Colts could.
Okay, so we'll hold off. The Colts and the Steelers are the only two teams in the AFC that are in a position right now where they could plug Aaron Rodgers in and they feel like they could make a playoff push. And if you want to say the Browns for just I don't feel like arguing it, then whatever. But though, I don't think so. And then in the NFC, Eagles no, Commanders no, Giants no, Cowboys no. Okay, Lions no, Vikings no, Packers no, Bears no. Buccaneers, no. Falcons, no. Panthers, no. Saints, no.
Correct? We're talking Stafford.
What's up?
Stafford? That's what we're talking?
We're talking Rodgers.
Oh, Rodgers. Okay. I thought we're talking Stafford. In that case,
no, you're
Rodgers,
fine.
Rodgers to the Colts, no. I can't see that. But if we're talking Stafford, I can see that to the Colts.
Yeah, see, that one, Stafford would make more sense. I would agree with that. And then the AFC West, no, because obviously the only team would be the Rams, and that would be if they gave up Stafford. So in the realistic realm of possibility, because I'll take the Colts. The real only two spots for Aaron Rodgers would be the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Los Angeles Rams, and one of them is taken as of this moment in time, and the other one might be taken because honestly, do you favor Russell Wilson, who's been in your system more, who already knows everything about you, or Aaron Rodgers for a year? Or do you favor Matt?
I could see the Raiders, too. I could see the Raiders.
See, I could see the Raiders doing it, but, I guess that doesn't move any needle. Would Devontae go back to the Raiders again? He just go back there?
Brady being there, too. I don't know if Rodgers is, because, Brady's involved in the Raiders quarterback search. He's going to, that's I think the Raiders go with Shedeur. I really think Shedeur Sanders goes to the Raiders. I can't see Rodgers being on the Raiders at all. It just doesn't seem like I feel like he clashed with Brady and with Pete Carroll too much. I really do.
I don't think, and I think that you would want to build for a future. If you're the Raider, you're not in a position where we're gonna win right now and we're only gonna focus now. You're focused on your future. So you would want to get someone like Sanders, who's obviously relationship with Brady already, can grow with Brock Bowers. Jacoby Myers is a younger receiver, obviously he's a mid-age receiver, but he's obviously not old by any means. You can get
He's got
your
a couple
guys.
good years ahead of him.
You still got years ahead of him. You can get your.
Yeah.
I was telling Tim, and maybe I could use this as my bold take. By the way, I want y'all to catch me up on what I missed in the 8 to 10 minutes I was gone.
It's mainly Patriots banter.
Oh, really?
It was
playoff.
It was mainly Patriots playoff banter, and then me making a cross sport comparison.
So you're telling me how people. You're telling me I was fighting for my life in the bathroom and we didn't get anywhere on takes. That's what you're telling me. No, but
I've got one.
Well, we're on this
one cooked up.
We're on this Aaron Rodgers take. My take was that I don't think he gets signed by any team.
Tim, very interesting you said that, because I was about to say, and you know this because I said this at the end of our pod, but I do think, and this is right in line with what Tim said, I think the best thing for Aaron Rodgers to do would be to sit out, work out, keep yourself a free agent, and see what's available in week 6, after the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season, see what's available, because by then, someone important's already gone down, likely, or someone who's got a new QB situation. It looks like it's, maybe not working out.
Could be in a Sam Darnold situation. That'd be the best case for him, where you're okay. The team's ready. We just need a filler for a year. That would be the best case for Aaron Rodgers. So I agree with you. But
yeah, I mean, if you got a team like, in that case is where I could see him going to a team like Indy. I couldn't see them signing him right now, but if they start Anthony Richardson, it's going the way we think it will, which is just you never know what the fuck's going to happen game to game with Anthony Richardson. That's a perfect Aaron Rodgers spot. Or even, I don't want to wish this on anybody, but if Brock Purdy were to, for some reason, get injured early on in the season, just call up Aaron Rodgers and you got him with the Niners or a team like that. You know what I mean? So I do think Aaron Rodgers is going to be in the NFL next season, but just like Tim said, and this is his take, if it ended up being into the season where he gets signed, I could see that. But I do think he'll eventually be playing. But I could also see the Rams thing too if that were to happen. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. The Rams would be like one of the only teams that would make sense to me, because they're in a win now. They're in a win now position with a win now coach organization kind of thing, where they could actually plug and play. Question that's just needs to be a yes or no for people. Would you give Brock Purdy $60 million? Branndon, yes or no?
Oh God, no.
Or 50 or 55-ish million, whatever top quarterback money, I should say, not exactly 60, but around there. Timmy, would you? And then we can talk about it after. I'm just curious.
I'd give him 50. That's where I'd cut it.
You'd give 50. So if he was like, I want 55 or I'm not re-signing, would you say, okay, play? I'm not signing you for 55? Okay.
Yep.
55 with incentives.
55 with incentives. Okay.
Cap it at like 52. Try to get it to 55 with incentives.
Okay.
I think he's a lot like many quarterbacks in the league, where you can't just give him a roster and expect playoffs necessarily.
Yeah.
But I think they were banged up last year, obviously. He fell off. Like, I mean, you heard me talk on here. First 6 to 8 weeks, I was saying he was playing as good a quarterback as any quarterback in the league. Like, he really was. He was looking confident back there. Like, he was just kind of almost like a old school Russell Wilson, just like kind of moving the pocket wherever he wanted. He was able to find time, find space. Like, he was playing really well. And obviously, if you got all the weapons, it's going to make you look even better. But he's still a work in progress, and I think we got to remember, last pick in the draft. So if you're talking last pick in the draft, and this is what, your 3rd year now, maybe 4th year, that's good progress. That's really good progress, if you ask me. So, I would sign him. I mean, obviously, you don't want to give him the moon. You don't want to make him the highest paid quarterback ever. But, I mean, I think you do got a good base to start with. You're talking about back-to-back NFC Championship appearances, Super Bowl appearance, and then, this year it all fell off. But I wouldn't blame him for the fall off.
So I'm in a situation where it's tough, because I was just about to compile a list really quick, and I probably will do so, like, just to see it while you guys are talking a little bit more about this. Of, like, it's tough because regardless of where you want to argue the position of where he ranks as a quarterback, anywhere between most people say he's the back half of 10s, like 9 to 10 at the minimum. People say he's 18. Like, I mean, it's like really it's that far with Brock Purdy. People argue him anywhere from 10 to 18. It's hard to because you wouldn't trade 20 quarterbacks in the league for him.
No.
Because obviously you have to think like you might not right now think Bo Nix, Drake May, Caleb Williams are better than him, but you're not trading Drake May, Caleb Williams, or Bo Nix for Brock Purdy because all three situations would rather have their quarterback than Brock Purdy moving forward. So like,
especially with the new contract, like a contract can change a quarterback's value so quick, no matter what your prior performance was.
Yes, so that's the thing that makes it very tough because like if he gets, that's why if you pay him $55 million, then he needs to now perform like a 50.
Fuck out of here.
He needs to pay like a $55 million quarterback. That's why Trevor Lawrence feels right now. Like if you're paying Trevor Lawrence $20 million, you've been like, okay.
Feels like a steal.
I was never a fan of us. I was never a fan of us giving Trevor Lawrence that big of a contract. Yes, now, I do think Trevor Lawrence this year is going to justify that contract. I really do. Like, I think with a good coaching staff. And honestly, like, I think that's another prediction that I had, but whatever. But I think Trevor Lawrence getting that $55 million puts a lot of these other teams into that situation where they're saying, hey, I want 55 and a half. Hey, I want 56. Like, look at what I've done compared to what he's done. I've made a Super Bowl. He hasn't. He's made the playoffs one time. You know, we've been to back-to-back AFC championship or NFC championship games. You know, but like I said, would I feel great about paying Brock Purdy $55 million? No, but you have to because the thing is, like, if you let him walk, somebody else is going to pay him, and then you've got to replace him. Then you've got to find somebody else to come in, and it's not a guarantee that you're going to find a quarterback that's going to work out.
Then you got Aaron Rodgers next team right there.
Yeah, but I like I said though, with Aaron Rodgers, like that's a 1 year, maybe 2 year max.
2 year max,
like, and he's probably going to want 30, 40 mil. Like, yeah, you can go out and get Sam Darnold, like, but like, is that production with Sam Darnold going to carry over if he's not on Kevin O'Connell's system? Like, so I wouldn't feel great about it, but like I think you got to bite the bullet. Like if he comes back to you and he says, "Hey, I want 55 mil," then I really do. I think you got to give it to him at the end of the day. I mean, I feel like you have no other choice.
Real quick, I do think. Let's say McCaffrey comes back healthy. Let's say if it's not Debo, they replace him with someone on Debo's level. They get a adequate replacement, and you got
they got Ricky Pearsall.
They got Pearsall.
Yeah, Ricky Pearsall.
He's actually playing. He played well towards the end of the year.
Pearsall,
Ricky Pearsall's the guy.
You're gonna get Ayuk back, and let's say they continue to draft well. I don't think me personally, I don't see Brock Purdy taking a slide back. I don't see him just having another bad season. Right. And his season declined with the injuries last year, and his season, again, first 6 weeks looked really good. So if they were to have a great roster and you got Shanahan right there and that defense improves or, stays the same, I don't see it being a step back season necessarily for Purdy. So
I could agree with that. Like if you have everything around him, then I think he's fine. I was just looking at the teams. I got to 7.5 teams that I think would be better with him right now, like definitively better. Because like I don't know if you can definitively tell me he would be better on the Jags than Trevor Lawrence. Even though I think he's a little like if I had to rank a quarterback, I'd rank him ahead of him right now. But like I don't know if you could say like he is definitively would make this Jaguars team a better team.
Hey,
like that, like those kind of like he's like there's a lot of those situations like Miami, like health wise, sure if you want to say that, but like that's a weird thing with Purdy where like if you want to like you talk about his stats, it's like okay he's better done more than this, but like if you're just taking player for player, if you drop them on a team, you're like, do I actually? He's such a hard quarterback to judge. He really is.
What are your 7 teams?
Before I'm gonna have Kyle ask what you're asking, then I'll tell you the teams real quick.
Go ahead, give us your 7 teams real quick, and then I'll go.
The Jets don't have a quarterback situation. the Browns, the Colts. I think that over Anthony Richardson for sure. The Titans, the Raiders. That's the AFC.
Okay.
The Giants, the Saints. My question mark was they wouldn't actually, but like if you dropped him in, my more thing would not trade, but drop him in. The question mark is the Vikings. If you keep Sam Darnold, like JJ McCarthy, like he's better than JJ McCarthy. Yeah, he's better than him right now, but like that was the one I was wrestling with. Kind of like Sam Darnold was literally 14-3 last year.
What about the Steelers?
I'd take him over Geno at the Seahawks.
See, those are the ones where I was. Those are the ones that got me questioned. Like I was thinking, I was like, would they probably see like the Steelers, the Seahawks? Those two were interesting. The Panthers was interesting to me because Bryce Young showed me a lot towards the end of the season, so it was like maybe, but Bryce Young's younger and he's in like so like I mean, but like is he a better quarterback right now than Bryce Young? Yes, but I'm just thinking like if you were to take him for next season. I don't know the Panthers would just sign up instantly to be like, yeah, I'm taking it, especially with what Bryce Young showed. But, like, you could also say yes, and I wouldn't, like, fight you on it. But I don't know. I was trying to think from their organizational period, like, what they would think. And I named, like, maybe 8, maybe 9. Like, so that's why it's really tough with him because that would make him, like, not more valuable than the 24th quarterback in the league, even though he's better than being the 24th quarterback in the league. So we had mentioned the last person that I had just talked about was Bryce Young. I do think the Panthers make the playoffs this year. I think they win the division and make the playoffs. That's my other bold take.
It's a good early take.
Those are the Patriots and the Panthers making the play. Division winner. I think they win the division at 10-7. I think the Bucks are still there, and I think they're still a very good team. But the Bucks are a team that I don't know how much better they're getting. They're kind of been really they've been good, really good, obviously. I can see them being 9-8. The Saints just are in a mess. They're just a mess. I don't know what Kellen Moore is going to do. They're just in a mess. And then you've got the Falcons, who are interesting. I think that the Falcons absolutely could win that division. I think they could be around the 10-7 too. We have to see what Penix is for a full season. Obviously, if Bijan's putting up 2,500 yards, they might be in the conversation. But 22 touchdowns and 2,500 yards and under 500 would be tough to beat. But I think that the Panthers at about 10-7 make the playoffs this year as the division winner. So they're going to have a home playoff game for the first time since I want to say 15. I think 15 was the last one they had at home.
Okay. Not too much to say to that because I don't want to spoil by the time preseason predictions do come around, but I could say I've said this a few times. I definitely see the vision. I think that division, as of right now, is going to be wide open. Bucks, though, I mean, the Bucks, if they drafted the right way, free agency, I mean, they've certainly got an infrastructure between the end of the Brady era, between the end of the Brady era and the Baker era. They're hard to sleep on. I think they've earned our respect, but I do think the Panthers are going to be for sure in contention. Especially if the Saints slide. A
tough 9-8, 10-7, like they could be there too. And I mean, they could even go 11-6, 12-5. Even the Bucks could. Like,
I think that's actually going to be.
I have massive respect for them.
I think that's going to be one of the most fun divisions, though. Next year, the NFC South.
Haven't heard that in
few years,
a decade. Haven't heard that since it was Breeze, Ryan, Newton.
All right, yeah, it's been that long.
Jameis
Jameis.
Yeah, and I was like, it's been a minute to be like, man, that division's gonna be a hoot,
baby.
The division's gonna be a hoot and a holler. Hop, skip, and a jump from that division being great.
I think it's going to be a competitive division. I do. Between the Bucks, Saints, or excuse me, Bucks, Falcons, Panthers, and I don't think the Saints are going to be. If everyone's healthy there, I think the Saints could at least be okay. And who knows what Kellen Moore is as coach, but they could be okay.
There will be that tough division team, like what the Browns were this year, where they weren't great, but you couldn't sleep on a game with the Browns because they could just randomly upset you every now and again because they do have some talent on that team. All right, I went. So, Branndon, you go.
Okay, so I'm going to go with another division winner. I think the Jaguars win 11 to 12 games this year. I think Trevor Lawrence actually finally shows everyone why he was a generational quarterback prospect.
Cannot wait to hear Timmy's take.
I think Trevor Lawrence throws for 4,500 yards. I think he finally throws for 35 plus touchdowns. I think Jacksonville finally goes into more of a air it out offense. With Brian Thomas
I thought you were about to say 45 touchdowns. I was going to say he's doing
what
now?
That's where I thought he was going.
35.
That's where I thought he was going.
He's doing what?
No.
MVP.
35.
MVP law.
For everyone listening.
MVP.
35,
gonna
not
say,
45, 35.
Trevor Lawrence is turning into Ty Law, locking down the league. If that's the kill, boy.
4,500 yards, 35 touchdowns. I really think this is the year that he gets it done. New coaching staff. He's got a bona fide number one, and I think Jacksonville wins the AFC South. If they don't, then next year, then I'll be in fan free agency. Like I always say.
You're in the division.
And then during the off, and then you're the off season, you'll be like, "Well, we're gonna get back, boys. Don't you worry." The lovelihood of being a fan.
Yeah. I do think it's the year that we do it. I think I was tired of Doug Peterson. I think Doug Peterson and everybody wore off. I really do think with a young offensive mind, I really think it depends on the defense, but I do think that Trevor has I guess, could you call it a breakout year? Like, would it be considered a breakout year?
So.
It'd almost be more it would be a breakout year, yes, because he's really just had a breakout moment. Because like year two, it was 25 touchdowns to 8 picks, but it was really the second half of that season into the playoffs. So I'm saying the bad first half. So it would be a breakout season because we've seen flashes before. Because you would say a breakout season. Yeah, I'd give you that.
Okay.
Abdul Carter may need surgery on a stress reaction in his foot.
Oh, sounds like a Patriots draft pick to me.
Let him fall to 4. Let him fall to 4. Oh,
he's going to blow up the combine, too.
Let him fall to 4.
Tim, what you got?
Timmy, you can go.
Kyle, you've already heard this one. It was on a podcast we did a few weeks ago. This is the 2026 prediction. So this is a deep, bold take. But I think that next year, the Indianapolis Colts will be very bad at football. And they will not win many football games. In fact, I think they win 3 football games. And they will have the number 1 overall pick. And I think that they will draft Arch Manning. And they will get a repeat of the Manning. They will win a Super Bowl with him. So this is a super deep take. That's my take.
That's right. You brought the
we
Manning
get
back.
another Manning era in Indianapolis.
Oh, wow. We have Manning 2.0. You know what? I'm fine with Hook'em Horns 1 and 2. I bet this Manning will deserve to be a first ballot Hall of Famer if he plays for the Colts. Better than another Manning. Don't know what Manning would not be a first ballot.
Oh, you
Hall
mean
of
the
Famer.
other one that played for the Colts?
No, I mean the other one. Yeah, like the other. I mean, listen.
The one with 2 Super Bowls.
Oh, yeah. The one with 2 Super Bowl MVPs and 2 Super Bowls, right.
Yeah, the one that's 500. The one that's 500. You want to know what's funny about it? I had to make a demo reel for my school. Like I had to put all of my some different clips together. Obviously, if I need to give them to somebody because I'm about to graduate, fund me. And I actually used one of the clips of me talking about Tom Brady. And again, when we were talking about because you had said, "What's up?"
I feel the need to interrupt
Kyle?
right here. I feel the need to interrupt. He said, he was describing Eli, and I went and said Elias Manning, right, as his full name. So I'm like, real quick, I'm like, let me just go to Football Reference. Like, let me see what his full name is. Like, I bet it's just Eli, and if it's not, it's probably Elias. I'm not kidding. His full name is Alicia Nelson Manning. Alicia. His name is Alicia.
Okay. I hope it's Elijah and they spelled it weird.
I mean, maybe
I really hope it's
Elisha.
Damn,
that sounds.
You just got beat by Alicia Manning.
That looks like Alicia. It probably is Elisha. Maybe it's Elisha. I don't know, but I mean, looks like Alicia.
No, it's spelled Elisha, so it's spelled like Alicia.
It's
All
either
right,
Alicia
I
or
understand
Alicia. I don't
not
know.
being first ballot Hall of Famer now. I get it.
Ellis.
Okay, thank you. We're finally in agreement. That's great. That is so great. We're in agreement. But no, that's a crazy name. I did not know that. But that is crazy, and I actually think that could happen. I think Arch will definitely be within the conversation of the one for sure. Like as long as he does what he's supposed to do this year and what he can do, that's fine.
He already
So
did
it's
it
really-
last year, man. When he had to fill in for Quinn, he played great. Like every time.
Oh no, he was. Trust me, I wanted him to fill in for like Mike. I'm a weird college fan where I have multiple teams that I support. So like I support Ohio State because friends, other people support Ohio State, so I support Ohio State there. And then I've for some reason because of Damian James and Dexter Pittman, I've liked Texas. So like I've been a Texas guy for a minute. So between then being in Tennessee for a while, like I'm just a natural like yeah, Vols go do well. So like all through there. So like really, I would love it. I truly would love it. And I've been getting more and more into college football. I find it just more and more fascinating by the year I watch. So I love it. So Timmy thinks Arch Manning's going to the Colts. That would be insane.
I could see that.
That would be
I could see
insane.
Arch like.
My only
Thank
issue
God
with
you-
it
wait,
is the
wait,
Colts
can-
side. I
Wait
think
a
the Colts
second.
are too good to go 3 wins. I think the Colts are like at the very worst a 7-win team, even a 6-win team.
They were too good with Flacco too. Like that's my thing. Like they said
They-
today they're going to bring in another quarterback. Like
I could
They
see,
could. I mean, it could.
but I could see
it could
Tim
go
though,
down.
This would benefit for you. I could see him going to the Giants. I could see the Giants having a bad season, then he comes back and replaces the other Manning or follows in the other Manning's.
if they don't take Cam Ward this year, yeah,
If they're able to take Carter or Hunter, and they decided to not go quarterback route, sure. And also, what was I thinking? Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Is Caleb Downs? He's draftable next year, right?
yeah, it'll be next year. He'll be a junior this coming
Yeah,
year.
I was gonna say he's gonna be a junior.
He's a true sophomore. He'll be
Might be the one pick, might be 1-1. So it depends. It might go to. I mean, obviously, if Arch is Arch, then like he'll be the one. But like Caleb is
Jeremiah Smith 2 years from now.
he's
It's going to be
booked at
Jeremiah
one.
Smith and DJ Lagway.
He's
Those two
booked
guys
at
will be
1-1. I was gonna say Smith's booked at 1-1 right now. So whoever gets him's getting Jeremiah Smith. That's all that matters. And then Ryan Williams will probably go like 4th. So like it'll be
You're gonna have
That
Jeremiah
wide
Smith
receiver.
at 1, DJ Lagway, Ryan Williams, and then there's another receiver that I'm thinking about.
Oh my god, that's gonna be an insane graph in 2 years. But anyways, all right, Kyle, give your last one, and then
I will hit you with my final one. Keenan, after this, I do want to hear your other sport bold take, especially if you're not going to be joining us Monday. You said you had one that possibly could be from another sport, so I wouldn't mind ending the show with that. If you do not have one, then I mean, whatever. But I have 2 actually. They both concern the NFC East. One is way more half-baked. The other one is more realistic. You know what? I'll give you the 2 for 1. We'll end with the 2 for 1. All right. The one that's more realistic, I could see, especially off of winning the Super Bowl, is Hurts actually takes a leap, and we'll say 35 plus passing touchdowns for Jalen Hurts, which would be a monster leap for him. I don't think he's thrown over
that'd be
23
an absolute
touchdowns. So
that'd be a
if you got Hurts throwing for 35 touchdowns, which the more I'm talking
might
about
go
it, the less
undefeated.
realistic it seems. 30 seems more realistic, but we're going super bold and saying 35. If that's the case, Eagles might walk to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying they might win, but they might walk to the Super Bowl if they get 35.
I might walk to 20
Hurts.
wins. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, they
He's throwing
might.
for
Maybe
that.
they're the undefeated
If
season.
he's running for
Maybe.
that and Saquon's even 86% of what he was last year, like if he's 85%, 85% of 2,000, when is he 1,500? I mean, that's having like that'd be like 1,600. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah.
True enough.
Yeah, that's hand in the
would walk
Lombardi.
to it.
True enough.
Yeah.
True enough. Now let me give you the other side of it.
Hey, we're here for the Super Bowl.
Let me give you the yeah, right, exactly. It would be like that, literally, right? The other side of that, this is my other NFC East take. Way more half baked. 20% believe this shit, especially given the talent of the Eagles. But There's a world where the Dallas Cowboys win the division next year. They still got talent. They still got talent. We have no clue what this bum ass coach looks like. I'm assuming not saying I believe. I'm saying 20%. I'm saying there's a world.
I was about to give you tea real quick for a second.
Saying there's a world. Just saying that.
So you're believing in Marty Schottenheimer, Brian Schottenheimer, whichever Schottenheimer.
I'm not believing. I'll tell you this: the Brian Schottenheimer hire reminds me a bit of when Porzingis was drafted, and everyone shit on Porzingis and was like, "This is the worst pick in the world." And then he ended up being pretty good. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Schottenheimer. I think we all shit on it when we found out he was hired. But I don't know if it was Tim or if it was, I think it was Tim who said it could also be like so bad it's good that it works or something like that. You know what I mean? So the division does seem lofty, especially when you got the Commanders there who like literally can just add around the fringes and are probably a contender next year. It's probably way more likely that the Cowboys miss the playoffs
the worst
altogether.
team in the division.
Could be.
It's more likely they're the worst team in the division than they are the best team in the division.
But I don't believe this. You're asking me right now, I'm picking the Eagles to win the division. But if we're calling bold takes out, Cowboys did okay without Dak. They're getting Dak back. They were ravaged on defense with injuries last year. They're going to have a healthy defense. I don't think they trade Micah Parsons. I don't think that actually happens. So if you're getting everybody back on defense, you're still going to have Dak and CeeDee Lamb. We assume they're going to be better at the running back position, and they ended up actually getting pretty good production out of the running back position. You get that offensive line playing well. So you get at least a Pro Bowl season from Dak, and you get at most average coaching. You're at least, that puts you back in the 10-11 win range. They're going to have an easy schedule next year. Let's not forget that. So I do think this is going to be an improved team. Thing is, like we just said, Commanders are there. Eagles are there. It's going to be a tough division. Giants should be a breeze depending on if they do or do not get Stafford. And who knows, maybe their rookie quarterback, if they do get one, maybe he's good. But I don't think the Cowboys are to be slept on. They've been in this position before where we laugh at the head coach, and guess what? They still end up getting 10, 11 wins, and they are going to have an easier schedule. So I don't believe necessarily that they're going to win the division, but if we're just throwing takes at the wall here, don't sleep on the Cowboys. But
Kyle,
then again, it was a terrible hire with Brian Schottenheimer.
That's fine. Kyle, that's perfectly fine. And obviously this is like, we're not holding you to this forever. Those two takes can't work in conjunction.
They can't.
If Jalen Hurts throws for 35 touchdowns, the Eagles again will walk to the NFC Championship game. They'll jog to the Super Bowl, and then they'll gritty their way to a championship.
If Hurts throws for 35, I mean, they're not losing more than 2 games. At the most 3, and that 3 is like by a field goal. So, yeah, no.
If Hurts throws for 35 with 85% Saquon production, they legit have a chance to go 17-0.
Especially the way they can control the clock. Yeah, they could.
That defense is only going to get better. That team's only going to gain swagger. They didn't lose much. Like, I mean, I get Kellen Moore's gone, but like, you can replace Kellen Moore. So like, man, oh boy. All right. No, I know, and obviously you're throwing a take at the wall. I understand that. I was just saying, like, there's a 0% chance those two can work in conjunction. Jalen Hurts can't throw for 35. The Cowboys win the division. Not a chance.
Saquon would have to 45 is what's going to happen.
Saquon would literally have to just say, "I'm not playing football anymore. I'm going to Maya Moore my way. I'm going to marry a prisoner and just call it a day." Like, we're going to get this guy wrongfully out of prison and call it a day.
I don't know how we got
the
a Maya
NFC East though.
I don't know how we got a Maya Moore
years.
reference, but did we hear what Tim said?
Oh, sorry.
45 touchdowns
For
from Dakota. That would lead
Dakota
to
Prescott.
That's what would
Dakota Rain Prescott.
The Cowboys win the division.
Rain Dakota Prescott's not going to do a thing like that. Alrighty.
Rain Dakota. Keen, do you have a cross sport bold prediction here?
Well, no. I mean, my bold prediction first one for any sport was the Fever are gonna at least get to the finals, and that the ratings for the WNBA finals are gonna be higher than the NBA. Branndon, I don't know if you heard that, but I think that the Fever are getting to the finals and the ratings will be higher, especially if it's not the Lakers or not the Warriors. Now I'm not so sure because I think one of those two teams could possibly get to the finals. So now I'm a little nervous. The Lakers Celtics would do numbers. Warriors Celtics again would do numbers.
Yeah.
So if I have to go bold, I will double down with Draymond, and I'll just say the Warriors are winning it all. That will be my bold for right now.
A lot has changed.
And listen. So here's the thing. Like, if you had to make me bet right now, I'm betting OKC to beat Boston. Like, my bet would be OKC or Boston. My bold take would be that the Warriors are going, and I can actually kind of explain why. I said it earlier, and this is my actual cross-sport comparison, Kyle, when you weren't there. Jimmy Butler has put every single person into their actual role and what they should be on the team. You don't have to have Pods being a guy who needs to go out and get 15 to 20. You don't need to have Gary Payton II can come in and be a high-energy guy. Draymond can really just be a facilitator, doesn't have to do a lot offensively. Moses Moody can play defense and shoot. And then the last thing you got to remember with all of this is this team's looking this good right now. They haven't had Jonathan Kuminga back, who is, regardless of whatever you feel about him as like what he can be as a long-term prospect, how good he really can be, he's a guy who can get you 20 on any night and he can bounce out of the gym. So, it's a guy who offensively can give you something out. So lineups that have like a front line of Jimmy, Draymond, and Kuminga, that's really athletic. Like, Draymond's an athlete in his own way. Obviously, he's not like the jump out of the gym, but he's just such a smart defender that he like has this natural athleticism with Jimmy and then Kuminga. You could put Moody and then like a Curry lineup in there. Like, I think there's a lot of different things they could play with. I think this team actually can give a lot of teams some fits. The one team
Davis is hurt too.
Yes,
player.
And then he's an actual just legitimate big. And Quinn Post has actually been playing. He's just a guy who can stretch the floor, and he's just a big body. So like that just helps. Yeah. Like, I understand. Like, I know like these names don't fully matter to a lot of people, but he's like legitimately been playing great pick and pop basketball, and then defensively he's just a big guy. So like the one team that is an actual problem, which I mean it's every single team's problem, is Jokic. Like, that's the legitimate problem for them. I think, honestly, now that Anthony Davis is not there, they could see the Lakers better. I think when they have a legitimate big who can put up points, that's their biggest issue, because their bigs are really good rebounders. They've been a top rebounding team in the league for the whole year, like top 5, and they're a top 10 defensive team, which also helps. But when you have that Jokic, when you have that Embiid style, Anthony Davis, it's literally been the play style of player that's always killed the Warriors, even when they were really good, the bigs that could really do something. So I think now, obviously, Luka and LeBron are insanely hard to guard, but like, I think they can match up wing-wise better with that than they can with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis kills them every time they played him.
I think I like the Warriors going forward this year better than the Lakers right now, but the Lakers look super tough. I almost don't know what the hell to make of the Lakers, because like me and Brandon were talking about it last night. Like, they, between this Nuggets game and that Mavericks game last night, Lakers look scary. Like, all out of nowhere they can.
Because they stifled the Nuggets. Like, they're
playing legitimate
well.
defense. They're playing defense without it, and LeBron is scary right now.
He's reinvigorated for sure.
Like, and that's the same and the same thing with Steph. Like, if you've seen Steph since Jimmy, he's averaging like 28 a game on like 49% shooting from the floor. Like, since that, he's been there. I mean, they're 6-1.
He's got a load off his shoulders, and they can already play defense. Like, they're a deeper team. The Lakers, I really have a hard time in a 7-game series seeing them keep up this level of defense, especially with no one who's like actually a threat to protect the rim. They're getting good minutes from Rui, like as far as being able to body a post guy. But I do think it would be hard for me to imagine in the playoffs that it's not a layup line at some point against the right team. But I mean, hey, basketball's a game of matchups.
You're
too,
right.
Depending
on who they get in the
against
first
OKC
round.
With Harrenstein and Chet, I think that's going to give them issues.
And what you were talking about, Kyle, too, the last thing I'm going to say on like the whole thing, with the Thunder, who's getting them the second shot?
That's my thing. That's why I'm rolling with Denver, and I'm feeling
that's what I was going to say. That's what you were saying there. With the Grizzlies, like, can you really? And like Bane's good. Don't get me wrong. I like Bane and I like that team a lot. They're very well coached. They have a lot of great pieces, but a lot of the time they're kind of like the Thunder, where it's jaw or off of a jaw miss. Can you get something, or maybe a guy can hit a shot?
I disagree. My disappointment with the Grizzlies is Ja now. I think I'm liking everything I see out of everyone else. Ja's only giving me 20 a game when Ja should be a 25 a game guy. I need way more.
I think right now I agree with you regular season wise. I don't know if playoff wise they have a second guy who you really are like, can you get you? I
think Triple J.
Maybe I'm underrating Bane a little bit.
Triple J.
Maybe I'm underrating Triple J too. So it's kind of the tough thing where you're talking about with the Thunder. It's like I get there like almost with the Grizzlies too. But I think Ja right now, I agree with you. Ja hasn't been playing the greatest. He did have a great finish to the game against Phoenix. But
Ja's gonna step his
and
shit
then, up. But like it's hard. I mean, as a Warriors fan or a Lakers fan, when you're walking in and your role players are playing well, and you're like, okay, we got Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond, and people who've won a championship before. We got Luka and LeBron and Austin Reeves, who's been playing really well this season. You've got to feel confident if you're both organizations and you're both fan bases. Like it's hard. Like you can talk yourself into. Yeah, they got Anthony Edwards and they got Julius Randle and they've got Rudy Gobert. We got LeBron, we've got Luka, we've got Austin Reeves and way Hachimura's playing the way like you can talk yourself into it, whether you believe it or not. As other people outside of it, sure, but like as at least the organizations, they can say, "Hey, we'll roll with playoff Jimmy and playoff Steph." I just watched Steph put up 12 points in 3 minutes on France over Wemby and Batum, and
I do think the Lakers are scarier like next year and moving forward than the Warriors.
Yes.
I like the Warriors this year.
I think the Warriors are better this year than the Lakers next year. I agree with you. I think right now is the Warriors window. I truly like next year, depending on what they get, but I think right now they could seize a moment and they could do it. But I think next year you get LeBron knows he's coming in prepared. Luka's fully off season. You get an off season with LeBron. They can get another small piece, like a legitimate big now, and not get it waived. Yeah, but that's the last thing I had.
Bron can play.
This was fun.
48 at this point. So check this out.
Steph can shoot until he's 90.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So listen, it sounds like at least 3/4 of us will be back on Monday. So this was part 1 of the Takes Pod. We're going to have more takes for you next week. And then you're going to have a little bit of a break. Keaton and I will be in Florida. Shit, we might even link up with Branndon Petty. Branndon Petty's over in Florida, so we might see Branndon Petty next week. But after that, I'm sure by the time we get back, we will have more NFL news. So you'll probably hear us chop it up about the NFL. But then you're going to get a lot more basketball and NBA, just like you just got down the stretch. So great pod.
I promise you guys you'll be getting March Madness too. Sorry, Kyle, to interrupt you.
Yes.
I promise you'll be getting March Madness.
Forgot about that.
I promise you two guys we'll be getting WNBA. Women's basketball is heavy over here in my corner. So like we'll be talking when Hannah Hidalgo does something crazy or when Paige Beckers or when whomever I need to talk about. There's too many good women's teams right now, and I'm loving their college basketball.
And we still got Tim's fix for the NBA as well as All-Star Weekend. Tim's still got that laid out, so you might get that from us in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. Listen, we will be back. This was the Warner Brothers podcast. This was Kyle. This was Keenan. This was Branndon. This was Tim. Peep part 1, where me and Tim are doing a little bit of QB matchmaking. Obviously, peep this episode, and then you'll damn near get a part 3 with the takes. So. Spotify, Apple Music, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, etc. Check us out, Warner Brothers Podcast. Peace.